She is one of the only human beings to have ever touched the silent void of space and stared into the crushing, eternal darkness of our planet's deepest point. Her feet have floated untethered above the clouds, and her eyes have witnessed the Earth from a perspective reserved for gods and satellites. Yet, she has also journeyed in the opposite direction, descending into an abyss so profound that the pressure could crush a submarine like a tin can. But what brought this legendary astronaut, Kathy Sullivan, the first American woman to perform a spacewalk, not to a mission control center or a high-tech laboratory, but to a quiet parish church in the small Scottish town of Linlithgow? The answer is locked within a breathtaking display of stained glass, a window that tells an epic, century-spanning story connecting the bottom of the sea to the furthest stars through a single powerful name that is etched in both triumph and tragedy: Challenger. This isn't just a story about a beautiful piece of art. This is a story about how a 150-year-old sea voyage laid the foundation for modern space exploration, how a Scottish scientist you've likely never heard of became a quiet hero to astronauts, and how the threads of history, discovery, and personal destiny can converge in the most unexpected of places. Today, we dive deep into the incredible legacy of the Challenger expedition, from the murky depths it first unveiled to the fiery ascent of the space shuttle that bore its name, and the woman whose life's journey connected them both. It all begins in the year 1872. The world was a place of burgeoning industry and bold ideas, yet the deep ocean remained a terrifying mystery, a vast, dark canvas onto which humanity projected its greatest fears and wildest speculations. To the Victorian mind, the abyss was a realm of monsters, the kraken, and unimaginable horrors. More critically, the scientific community subscribed almost universally to the azoic theory, the firm belief that no life could possibly exist below a few hundred meters. The logic seemed sound. The pressure was thought to be infinitely crushing, the cold absolute, and the darkness eternal. Without sunlight, the foundation of all known life, the deep ocean must surely be a lifeless, primordial void. But one man, a Linlithgow-born scientist named Charles Wyville Thomson, a professor at the University of Edinburgh, refused to accept this dogma. His own preliminary dredgings had brought up creatures from depths previously thought barren. He believed the depths were not dead, but teeming with secrets. He managed to convince the British government and the Royal Society to fund the most ambitious voyage of exploration the world had ever seen. The mission was given a vessel, a Royal Navy corvette named HMS Challenger, a 200-foot-long ship of the line. Its purpose was radically transformed. It was refitted in a naval shipyard, its powerful guns removed and replaced with state-of-the-art laboratories, microscopes, specimen jars, winches, and miles upon miles of Italian hemp rope for sounding the depths. Its new mission was not to conquer nations, but to conquer ignorance. This was the Challenger expedition, the world's very first global exploration of the deep sea. For nearly 4 years, from 1872 to 1876, the Challenger sailed the globe, covering almost 70,000 nautical miles on a journey that would take it to every continent except Antarctica. It was a grueling, relentless pursuit of knowledge in conditions we can barely imagine. The crew of over 200 men dredged the seafloor, collected water samples at every conceivable depth, and meticulously cataloged everything they found. The process was painstakingly slow. A single deep-sea sounding could take an entire day. And what they found not only changed science, it rewrote our understanding of the planet itself. They discovered an astonishing 4,700 new species of marine life, from bizarre, translucent fish adapted to eternal night, to vibrant creatures like the pink New Zealand lobster, which now sits immortalized in the stained glass of St. Michael's Church. They systematically and utterly disproved the azoic theory, proving that life, strange and wonderful, thrived even in the most extreme environments. And then, in the Western Pacific, their sounding lines kept dropping, spooling out for miles into the dark. On March 23, 1875, they recorded their deepest sounding yet, 4,475 fathoms, or about 5 miles down, they had found the deepest part of the entire ocean, a point so remote and extreme it was like discovering a new continent on our own world. They named it the Challenger Deep. This single voyage, documented in a 50-volume report that took 19 years to complete, laid the entire foundation for the modern science of oceanography, transforming what had been myth and speculation into a rigorous scientific endeavor. Fast forward over a century to the 1980s. Humanity's new frontier was no longer the deep sea, but the vast emptiness of outer space. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, better known as NASA, was building a new fleet of reusable spacecraft, the Space Shuttles, and they needed names that would inspire a nation and honor the timeless spirit of exploration. Looking back through history for vessels of discovery, they found the perfect parallel. Just as HMS Challenger had sailed into the unknown abyss of the ocean, this new vessel would soar into the unknown of the cosmos, carrying scientists and their dreams. And so, in 1982, the Space Shuttle Challenger was christened. It was a direct and intentional tribute to Thomson's pioneering voyage. But the connection was about to become uncannily personal. On board one of the Challenger shuttle's future flights would be a scientist astronaut named Kathy Sullivan. And before she ever dreamed of floating in zero gravity, before she trained to be the first American woman to walk in space, Kathy Sullivan was a university student completely captivated by the science of oceanography, the very field that Charles Wyville Thomson had created from the waves. She had studied his work, been inspired by the audacious journey of the original Challenger, and dedicated her early career to understanding the oceans. In her own words, Wyville Thomson and his expedition founded the field that I ended up finding my direction, finding my career, and finding a lifetime's worth of satisfaction. Isn't that an incredible twist of fate? An oceanographer whose career was made possible by the Challenger expedition being chosen to fly on the Space Shuttle Challenger. If you think that's a mind-blowing connection, take a quick moment to hit that like button. It truly helps us bring more of these amazing hidden histories to light for everyone. For Sullivan, flying on the shuttle was more than a mission. It was a destiny she hadn't even realized was being written, a link in a chain of exploration stretching back over 100 years. But the story and her journey doesn't end there. In June of 2020, decades after her historic spacewalk, Kathy Sullivan would complete the second half of this extraordinary circle. She boarded a high-tech submersible, the limiting factor, and descended nearly 7 miles, 11,000 meters, through the crushing black water to the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, landing in the Challenger Deep. She became the first woman in history and one of only a handful of people to have both traveled to space and visited the deepest point on Earth. It was this remarkable, dual-faceted life of exploration that eventually brought her to that church in Linlithgow to stand before the window commemorating the man and the ship that had unknowingly charted the course of her life. She described the visit as a fun coming full circle for my own career arc. Standing there with her was Lance Bush, a former NASA engineer and the CEO of the Challenger Center. His presence brought another, more somber and profound layer to the story. The name Challenger, for all its inspirational history, is also synonymous with one of NASA's darkest days. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart just 73 seconds into its flight, tragically taking the lives of all 7 astronauts on board, including Krista McAuliffe, who would have been the first teacher in space. In the wake of that terrible national loss, the families of the crew chose not to retreat into grief, but to build a living legacy. They created the Challenger Center, an organization dedicated to science, technology, engineering, and math education, inspiring millions of students to pursue their own journeys of discovery. For Lance Bush, seeing the window was a profoundly moving experience. He saw the connection not just to the ship, but to the enduring spirit of human curiosity represented by both the expedition and the lost crew. He noted the representation of the cosmos at the top of the window, a celestial scene of stars and planets above the angels and the deep-sea creatures. The window itself is a stunning representation of creation, from the bottom of the ocean to the heavens, a testament to the human drive to understand it all. It shows the ships of the expedition, the vibrant life they discovered, and the stars they would one day inspire others to reach for. As he put it, "I am in awe of all the generations of explorers that came before us, and realize the necessity for us as a society to continue that spirit." And that spirit is more relevant than ever. Today, as Scotland prepares to return to the business of expedition with a new satellite launch site in Shetland, this story serves as a powerful reminder. It shows that the quest for knowledge is a continuous chain, passed down through generations. A 19th-century Scottish scientist inspires a 20th-century American astronaut, who in turn inspires the explorers of the 21st century. This incredible story shows how the spirit of exploration echoes through generations, linking the depths of our world to the vastness of space. To make sure you don't miss our next deep dive into history's most fascinating connections, be sure to subscribe to the channel and join our community of curious minds. From the crushing pressure of the Challenger Deep to the silent vacuum of orbit, the human journey is one of relentless curiosity. And sometimes, the entire epic scope of that journey, its triumphs, its tragedies, and its enduring inspiration, can be captured in a single, beautiful cosmic ballet of glass and light, waiting to be discovered in a small Scottish church. This is more than a window. It's a map of human endeavor, showing where we've been, and reminding us that there are always new oceans to cross and new stars to reach.